and they're going to give us a full update on really what's going on in the Colorado ecosystem from a regulatory framework. So I think this is very important. One thing I'll really talk about is, you know, Colorado has had a blockchain task force, and Paul Foley has really been engaged and instrumental in that. We appreciate your hard work, Paul. And really, Colorado is doing a lot of leading as far as blockchain adoption and really encouraging the whole blockchain ecosystem. But the great thing with Colorado also is we have a wonderful regulatory group that really oversees this and also protects the public. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Jeffrey, and I'm going to have him run this panel. Thanks, Jeffrey.
Thanks so much, John. This is a great event. We're really happy to be here. And I would really encourage everyone in the crowd who will be hanging out today, please come up and talk to us, make a connection, and feel free to ask any questions. How many people in the audience have had an idea for or started a blockchain company and just been completely confused about the regulatory framework? All right, a good amount of you. And how many people have paid a lawyer a lot of money to try to figure that out? That's probably just about everyone. And anyone in the audience just have this down, they know it, it's easy, it's clear to them. All right, if anyone would raise their hands, they usually charge about $600 an hour. So, yeah, my name is Jeff Eaby, and I'm the Chief Examiner with the Colorado Division of Securities, here with the Department of Regulatory Agencies. And really the goal of this panel today is just to give an overview, a really quick one, of Colorado regulators' activity in blockchain right now. And I think more importantly, though, you know, we're not going to be able to go too deep on that, is to really just give a clear idea and understanding to you of the processes of how you can get clarity for your own business idea going forward, how you can get in contact with these folks. And just a little bit about, I think, what our subject area will relate to concerning blockchain. It's mostly going to concern an exchange of value over a blockchain. Not so much kind of data management. It will really be sort of securities issues and a money transmitter issue. And I'll introduce our fantastic panel here real quick. We have Ken Boldt. He is the banking commissioner of Colorado and really an expert on money transmitter licensing. We have Dave Cheval, who is the acting commissioner of the Division of Securities. We have Paul Foley, who is a co-founder of Colorado Blockchain, founded SmartCapital, and has also been instrumental with the Governor's Council for the Advancement of Blockchain Technology. And finally, we have Michael Hoke, who is a senior enforcement attorney with the SEC. So, Paul, why don't we kick it to you first, and can you just give us an update on what's been going on in Colorado as far as working towards smart regulation for blockchain companies?
Sure. So we had the advancement for blockchain technology, a council appointed by Governor Hickenlooper and then continued by Governor Boldt. That came to a close in July, but the kind of consensus coming out of there is we're going to have forums going forward. So higher ed has a forum, DORA, Department of Regulations, these fine folks have a forum, as well as a WEDIT. The forums are a chance for any company that's using blockchain technology as a product, as a core feature, to go ahead and come into one of these forums, meet other, obviously, blockchain companies, but as well as ask questions to see how their concerns can be addressed. So there's now forums that any blockchain company can go to. They're hosted around once a quarter. And then there's also now a regulatory clarification request. So if you go to coloradoblockchain.com or choosecolorado.com/blockchain, there is the ability to go ahead and fill out a form, and then these fine folks get the request, and then they can help you with getting regulatory clarity on your company. So far, there's actually been 2 companies that have used that feature, and then also gotten kind of guidance on where to go and not have to pay lawyers, like Jeff mentioned, hundreds if not thousands of dollars to get some regulatory clarity there.
Okay. And a real quick administrative oversight. Before we kick it to the regulators, we have I think they have some disclosures they'd like to give regarding their opinions today. This is sort of a general practice that we need to include. So, Michael, I'm sure you have the most robust
disclosures.
I do, unfortunately. So the Securities and Exchange Commission disclaims responsibility for any private publication or statement of any SEC employee or commissioner, definitely includes me. These remarks reflect solely my personal views and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Securities and Exchange Commission, the individual members of the commission, or its staff.
Just on my behalf, I'm not speaking for the Executive Director of the Department of Regulatory Agencies or the Governor. I guess now with the Commissioner, these are my views, so I'm stuck with it.
I'm also a commissioner, so I'm stuck with my views also. I'm not speaking for the governor or the executive director of the Department of Regulatory.
And Paul, real quick, to go back to the council, what was the outcome of all the work that you guys did for the last year?
Yeah,
kind of what have you accomplished to this point?
We passed the Colorado Digital Token Act. It sounds like the first filing actually happened a few days ago with Revocan. The Colorado Digital Token Act basically gives clarity on what an ICO is versus a crowdfund offering is. So obviously we don't want to be offering securities when we're doing an ICO. So this Digital Token Act actually goes and it gives guidelines on how to do a proper ICO. And so we passed that as a unanimous vote in terms of passing, and then now we have a bunch of other working groups that were created from that. Things like exploring a regulatory sandbox, things like SPDIs for banking. We got regulatory clarity on if you need a money transmitter license in Colorado. A lot of great things came out of that.
All right, and Dave, why don't we kick it to you for a little bit of an update on the Digital Token Act. Paul said that there's been one filing so far. Why don't you kind of give us a little bit of insight on what that means for the company and what happens at the division when something comes in?
Yeah, sure. And I just want to step back a little bit to what Paul was just talking about. In the 2018 legislative session, there were a number of bills that came forward that were modeled after Wyoming legislation that effectively would have exempted ICOs from the definition of security. And there was a little tension between us, our department, and kind of the blockchain community over that issue, and that led to the formation of the blockchain council that Governor Hickman put in effect. And that was just a great process. The interaction between our office, banking, and people on the council and others in the blockchain community led to the development of the issue program. And we worked closely with Eric Hickman, who was on the Governor's Council, who's an attorney, and members of the blockchain community to develop that. So we were happy that it passed this legislative session for an exemption. So it's an exemption from registration of the token as a security, and an exemption from the sale of the licensing part of selling securities. So that was filed 2 days ago, and that's the first one that came through. And it's a pretty easy process. The law lays out how you can qualify for the exemption, and that would be primarily consumptive use of the token at the time of the offer or sale or within 180 days. So if you read through the act and the rules are very simple. The form is 1 page or 1.5 pages. It's also very simple and self-explanatory. So we've had a number of phone calls from people in the community asking about their particular projects and whether or not the form is to be filed yet. We've given them certain guidance on that. And then there's another procedure that you can use, and that's called getting an interpretive opinion from us, and that costs $100. So we had a blockchain company just send us a letter laying out their business plan and keep private information confidential. And we issued an opinion, which is on our website, that said, under this use case, this is not a security. So that's another way you can go around getting an answer from us. We'll provide that. We'll provide that for anybody in the community.
Okay. And Paul, I really have to ask, because the nature of most blockchain companies is interstate, at least, if not global. So, what's really the effect of just doing this on a Colorado state level, when federal law controls?
Right, so, and to highlight what Dave just said, before this, you would have to pay quite a bit of money to get interpreted opinions and to kind of steer in the right direction. Now that it's outlined what an ICO can actually be, it becomes much easier to offer a correct ICO. To Jeff's point, obviously the SEC regulates everything at a federal level, but with something like this, when you file for exemption in Colorado and you are following this act, you become a much better actor in the SEC eye, as well as be able to do this offering, saying you were able to, you were in the spirit of trying to obviously do an ICO in the correct manner. Also, as we saw with Wyoming, when Wyoming started passing blockchain bills, Colorado quickly followed, and now you see California starting a blockchain council this year, as well as other states creating blockchain councils as well. Now that there's a framework in the most detailed Digital Token Act in the country, you have a framework that other states can use to pass their own legislation, and then it will eventually work its way up to the federal level, at which point there will be a lot more clarity with the SEC.
All right, and why don't we kick it to Michael for kind of the SEC's position. It seems like every other week I hear about a new multi-million-dollar ICO settlement. So what's going on with these ICO actions, and what other resources are available from the SEC for blockchain companies?
Sure. Thanks, Jeff. I do want to address just one issue. The Digital Token Act, whatever its merits in terms of state registration, does not operate as a federal exemption. Just even if you fall within its terms, does not necessarily mean you can avoid registering at the federal level. But to address your question, Jeff, just because of the vast amounts of money in the ICO space, we have significant investor protection concerns. Those continue as long as people are raising money from investors. We have tried to be active in the space, bringing enforcement actions, particularly in cases of significant fraud, where we still have concerns. But you now are seeing more cases where we are dinging companies just for failure to register. We think even if there's no obvious fraud involved, investors are entitled to have some information about the companies that are raising money from them. Unless an exemption applies at the federal level, securities raisers need to register with the commission. So I think you were referring to the settlement that was announced last week with Block 1. Their EOS raise last year raised, I think, more than $4 billion. I think we brought institute proceedings just on the registration issue with regard to that offering. I think you'll continue to see us taking a stance there. You really do have to follow the registration requirements if you're taking investor funds in the form of security. To get some clarity on that, though, we have put together a number of materials. They're available on the SEC website. Go to sec.gov/finhub, FINHUB. We really have tried to put together some guidance to help the community figure out, what our rules are, when you fall within our jurisdiction. And we have processes where you can apply for something similar to what Dave mentioned, a no action letter. So please do check out the website. Talk to us if you have questions. We really want to help you get it right.
Quick follow-up. What do you do if your offering is, you don't intend your offering to be a security? Do you still have to register with the SEC?
So it turns out that intent isn't what determines whether it's a security or not. This is where you really do need to consult the guidance. Look, we take into account good faith efforts to follow the law. We pay attention to that, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to bring an action if you fail to register what is security. So please do look at the guidelines. We really have tried to provide some materials to help you out, but also just give us a call.
And that was going to be my next question, Michael. Besides the materials on FinHub, what do we need to do to talk to someone at the SEC? Kind of nail down some specifics.
one good step is to contact the Division of Corporation Finance. They have a process where you can apply for no action letters. That's where you basically lay out your business plan, you write a letter saying, you know, if we do this, are you going to consider us as offering securities? And like Colorado, they will provide responses. And now we've had 2 cases in the blockchain space where they have issued a no action letter saying, no, if you follow, you know, the plan that you propose, we won't recommend an enforcement action.
Okay, great. All right, and it seems like the focus has been moving away a little bit from securities, and a lot of the interesting use cases I've heard about recently kind of concern money transmitter issues. So, Ken, could you kind of tell us, you know, what's your activity with money transmitter licensing, and you know, when do you need a license for that activity?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff, and thanks for the invitation to be up here in front of all of you. I really appreciate the opportunity. To step back a bit, the Blockchain Council, one of the pain points that came in loud and clear was the confusion on whether a company that was operating in the virtual currency world needed to be licensed as a money transmitter here in Colorado. So the division took a lot of time and produced guidance that we put on our website about a year ago. We took a very narrow focus around that issue. You know, a number of states have a very broad definition of what money transmission is. Colorado chose, with the approval of the banking board, to take a much narrower scope. So since we put that guidance up, we've had 31 inquiries. It's only been about a year. Of those 31 inquiries, we responded 24 times and said that money transmitter license was not needed. You can go ahead and do your business. Of the 7 that we said, yes, you are subject to the Money Transmitter Act and you have to get a license, we've had 7 applications, and all 7 applications have been approved by the banking board, and we've actually issued 6 licenses. So, you know, to the point about contacting us, most of the information, including the guidance, is on our website, but we're also available by phone. We actually answer our phone, so we will talk to you directly. But you know, to get a real firm decision, what we need for you to submit is a business plan and a flow of funds. And again, we realize it's confidential information. All the information that comes into the division is confidential and is kept confidential. And we usually get back to you within 5 to 7 business days with a determination. So I hope you think that's pretty quick, because we think it's pretty quick. But you will get an answer for us. And if there's any further questions based on the information we send in, we have conversations and ask for additional documentation. We really want to be responsive to the community.
Okay, Ken, and on that guidance that was issued, I know that was really well received by the blockchain community. Could you just kind of dive into that a little bit and tell us exactly when that, what does that state? What's contained in that guidance?
Okay, I didn't bring it up with me. So, in general, if your company receives cryptocurrency, and within your ecosystem, as a customer can transfer it to Jeff, not a buy or sell, just transfer it. Similar to, I need to pay him for lunch, and I'm going to pay you in Litecoin. I can transfer it to him in Litecoin. And then he has the ability to redeem that at some point for fiat currency. That's when you need a license. I know it's a very narrow definition. And in most of the cases where we said that a license wasn't needed, you know, it was strictly a buy or sell of cryptocurrency. There was exchanges, you know, Litecoin for Bitcoin within the system, but unless you're actually transferring it to another person with fiat on either end, that's when you know the money transfer.
Okay, thank you. And Dave, with the Division of Securities last year issuing approximately 20 cease and desist orders against companies who did ICOs or transacted with cryptocurrencies, why would anyone want to come talk to you?
Nice question, Jeff. Well, let me just give some history into why we started that. So we're involved in an organization called the North American Securities Administrators. Includes Canada, Mexico, and all the United States. So our focus on the consumer protection side was really on the straight frauds, not legitimate businesses that were out there and maybe technically should have been registered. We weren't focusing there. We were focusing on straight frauds. And a good example is the SEC put up kind of a spoof page called the Howe coin. And that was really, you click on it, you could buy it, and it would go to kind of this consumer protection thing about look out for fraudulent offerings. Well, someone actually ripped that entire website, put some different photographs on it, and they actually still included the SEC people with different names, the Director of Technology, et cetera. And you could actually purchase this coin, the Howe coin. It was just a straight out fraud. And so the cases that we brought, which were about 20, were just like that. People would put up these websites, they'd raise $5,000, and then move on. And they might have multiple websites doing the same thing, and just hoping that someone would purchase these new altcoins. So that's what we went after. Most of them were not based in the United States. We were able to get some of the websites taken down, but that was part of a kind of a multi-state focus crypto sweep. We did have our own task force on it. We're thinking about bringing that back, but again, the focus will just be on straight frauds.
Okay. And I guess this question is for all the regulators. What are the current trends you're seeing in enforcement cases related to cryptocurrencies? And are you still pretty active in that space?
Yes, we the SEC are still active. We have a dedicated unit called the cyber unit that focuses on enforcement in the space. We really are trying to get the message out that registration is important. So I think that continues to be a focus for us. But we are also optimistic that we are starting to see compliance take hold. We're starting to see companies register as transfer agents and come up with custody solutions and solve some of the problems with compliance. And so I'm hopeful that one of the trends you will see is fewer enforcement actions because we're seeing better compliance. That's my hope.
And Jeff, and one thing that we've seen is not blockchain or crypto-related companies, but it's using cryptocurrency as the hook to scam people. We had a case where someone claimed he was putting all these investors into a crypto hedge fund, which just took money. Bought an apartment in California and just spent the rest of it. So it was kind of using that hook, especially when we had Bitcoin around 20,000. A lot of people were interested, and we had a couple of investment advisors that were putting kind of senior clients' whole retirement funds into these so-called crypto funds, and they just took the money. So it's not particular to the industry, but they were using it as a hook. We still do see some cases that have come through our office where there are just straight frauds, and we're currently investigating problems.
Yeah, since we're just starting our supervisory process for our money transmitters, we haven't seen anything obvious that folks are missing. I will say, if you end up with a money transmitter license, one of our primary focus is on anti-money laundering. So there is a requirement that you have a program, and we spend most of our time in our examination process looking at the program, making sure it's applicable. Kind of broader, I know there is some national work groups, if you will, to try to synchronize some of the state laws, because every state has their own money transmitter law, and it can be very confusing. For example, Wyoming exempted virtual currency companies from money transmission. We took a very narrow focus, as I mentioned. Washington State has a very broad focus, and other states do as well. So there is some work groups that are looking at a national solution. Now, whether that happens or not is anybody's guess, but there is there is those groups available.
Okay, and Michael, you've mentioned compliance problems and how some of those are being resolved. And I really just have to wonder that what is taking so long to have a crypto ETF approved? I know a lot of people are really excited, for a broader audience to be able to hold, at least indirectly, crypto assets. So what's the SEC's concerns here?
Yeah, the dreaded question. I think, so I was hoping to have better news on this front, but one of the applicants, the decision got delayed. But the Commission has instituted proceedings with regard to one crypto ETF. Hopefully we'll have a decision by December, I think, at least tentatively. But the Commission continues to be concerned about fraud and manipulation in the underlying spot markets, and the ability of the exchanges offering the ETFs to monitor and surveil for fraud and manipulation. And that's going to be an issue. Systems designed to avoid surveillance, it's going to continue to be something that the Commission wrestles with. So, I think we'll get there. There's been some real innovative proposals coming before the Commission, but manipulation in the spot market is a real concern.
Okay, great. And we just have 5 minutes left here, so I thought we would kick it to audience questions. If anyone has a question for any of our regulators, I would suggest though that you don't pitch your individual business idea. Though you could do that after this, and I think you do have some avenues to reach out to these folks later. But if you kind of have some more questions about general trends, that would be fantastic.
I just wanted to ask if you had any insights on the regulatory aspect from the consumer and the user side, especially when it comes to blockchain and issues of anonymity. How does that start coming into questions? I know this isn't necessarily within the realm, but taxation and when you are dealing with the security, what does that look like from the consumer side?
Actually, one of the working groups that we had for the Blockchain Council was looking into taxation, and the law was actually drafted because Governor Polis at a federal level, he was a senator, was trying to work through a tax bill on Bitcoin and other digital currencies. When we were doing the working group, we actually found that the Department of Revenue wasn't going to be able to have the processes or the ability to actually implement the bill. So in terms of what the taxation was the way the bill was structured, the Department of Revenue said there's no way we're going to be able to actually, so I think it's definitely a topic that's like at the federal level, the state level is going to do that. I don't think there's like a really good answer right now, and especially with privacy points like Bitcoin and Zcash and all those, I think it's really difficult.
And Dave and Michael, I'm sure you guys can speak to the issues that the pseudo-anonymous nature of cryptocurrencies, the problems that poses to your investigations.
They're tremendous.
Not surprising. Okay, this question is in your own personal opinion, how does Colorado consider a stablecoin in a permissioned environment? Is that a security? Is it a utility? What is it?
Good question.
Yeah, I think that stablecoin is not a security. I mean, I want to see, again, we talked about seeing exactly how it's structured and how it acts in the marketplace. There have been some discussions about whether or not it could be considered a commodity, which would be also Colorado Commodity Code, which references the CFTC regulations. So we've been talking about that.
Three more questions. Do you think we can do that?
So Ken, you brought up a really good point about collaboration, and we're starting to see people trying to work together on bringing legislation and regulation up to speed, especially hopefully at the federal level, so the cryptocurrencies can actually see some use for the consumer side. Can you speak to how we're doing things on the Front Range, for instance, partnering with Colorado and Wyoming, and more broadly across the U.S. to try and see that vision?
So, as I mentioned, there are work groups, and that's actually through the Conference of State Bank Supervisors. They have it's our national organization for state bank regulators, and they have a non-bank function as well. A lot of states, Colorado, regulate money transmitters, mortgage brokers, et cetera, et cetera. And there are work groups that are looking at, suggesting changes at the state level legislation to make the definitions more clear and consistent, looking at what actually constitutes money transmission in the exchange of value, because that varies by state. So I think it's going to be a long process, but there is work being done. It's part of the CSBS Vision 2020. So if you go out to the CSBS website, a lot of that information is available.
Question to Michael regarding most recent SEC ruling regarding Block 1 and EO. What was really wrong given that Block 1 and EOs offer the ICO outside the United States and restrict the U.S. persons?
I have to refer you to the litigation release that was posted on the website, but essentially, while they said they were restricting U.S. persons, they still managed to raise a significant amount of money from U.S. residents, and the offering was available to people in the U.S. regardless of the steps they took. But please check out the litigation release; it should outline some of that.
We're over time. There's two more questions. Yeah, I agree.
Hello. I'm not from the US, so please ignore please forgive my ignorance. Back in Europe, we think that whatever cryptocurrency is there, the SEC will treat as security, and then we have to go to the court to prove that we are not a security. And that method is so prevalent there that we advise our clients not to have US on the list. So is that true? Or is it just a myth that we are nursing back there? And I have a related question that when we launch cryptocurrency, the game is changing from ICO to IO and not to STO, whatever. When it enters US soil without SEC's permission, how is it treated? Is there a time we have to comply with regulations, or we need to comply with regulations before we even enter? Thank you.
Speak for the commission and efficient. I will say, Commissioner, the Chairman Clayton has said that a lot of cryptocurrencies look like securities to him, certainly in the offering. But we have already issued 2 no-action letters saying that crypto tokens, if done as proposed, would not be securities. So I don't think we just assume everything is a security. We go through the analysis that we put out on the website. We go through that analysis to try and determine whether it's a security. We don't want to be acting where we don't have jurisdiction. That being said, if you are offering the sale of a token in the U.S., you got to be compliant from the moment you make the offer in the U.S. If registration requirements apply, you got to be registered before you make the offer sale. You can't make it up afterwards and hope that we won't notice. So.
Okay. I was just going to ask, so let's say your intent is to offer not a security, you're offering a token in the same way as how to crowdfund to pre-sale. you have a working product in the point of view like Spotify. When you're going to be an SEC with this, it's not easy to register for a product sale on a crowdfunding site. You don't have to register with the SEC. So how would a company go about that portion? That's, I think, where the biggest confusion is probably.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's the rubber hits the road. That it's the devil's in the details, and we really do go through this very intensive analysis to determine whether you're a security or not. You know, the two no action letters that we've issued, as described, look like utility tokens through and through. But calling yourself a utility token doesn't mean that you aren't a security, particularly if you are taking steps to provide initial investors with some sort of return.
And final add-on question, would you have to get another no action letter? Because those usually take a while.
Can we talk to a lawyer? You know, the no action letters really are limited to the facts set forth in the application letter. Obviously, the closer you are to them, the more likely it is that you would get a no action letter yourself. But I don't think you can rely on somebody else's no action letter if you have a different business plan.
Yeah, just quickly, the same is true for our interpretive opinions. It's based on the particular facts that are put forward. And my recommendation would be to request one for your own particular reasons.
All right, there's a lot of questions, which we appreciate, and I guess just as the main takeaway, you know, we want you to know that Colorado regulators are available to answer your questions. Please give us a call, and you know, I think if we're going to have smart regulation in Colorado, it's going to require industry and regulators really working together. So thank you for having us.
Thank you, gentlemen. We really appreciated that great panel by the Colorado regulators. And like I say, this is a great opportunity. If you have some questions and want a chance to talk with the regulators directly, they're here. We can do that kind of networking. So let's take just a couple-minute break here. And we have another wonderful panel. We have Ezra Reeves coming out. And we have Brent Watson. And then we also have Paul Quigley joining that panel as well. And if you're interested in what's going on in the consensus room, then we also have Bridge 21 and Will Madden. And when they talk about these kind of cross-border transactions, Bridge 21 is taking care of those as well. So let's say something in the break.
Thank you.